Do you like RC the Transformer? Well, this video is probably gonna be good for you because there's like a lot of RC figures in this video. We'll start off with a knockoff Masterpiece. The Robot Rose RT01 is a knockoff of the Masterpiece 51 RC figure, except they gave her boobs. Starting off with the packaging, you get some nice artwork of RC holding her two blasters. Third-party companies really know what they're selling. This artwork was used in the RC Fig Pin. Some more nice artwork at the top. The figure does come packaged in vehicle mode, and honestly, it looks absolutely great. I got mine FTF Safari. Use this code for 3% off. It's got that classic G1 retro futuristic look to it. Pretty accurate to G1 RC. This part is a little floppy though. The rest of it does look really great, and just like other RC figures I've reviewed in the past. I do love the color of pink on here. It's a very nice bubblegum pink. There is supposed to be an Autobot insignia here, but since this is a third-party figure, that's illegal. They did not add one. There are some included stickers, so you can add the Autobot insignia over here. The pinks and white all look really great on it. I like the translucent blue windshield, and you do get some nice car detail inside. Some really nice work done for the steering wheel and all up over here, as well as the car seats. Side profile of the vehicle mode looks pretty good. Of the curved look this vehicle mode has. Back of the vehicle mode kind of falls apart because you can see her legs, but nothing too big of a deal. And then underneath, you have the entire figure folded up in there. Most RC figures are like this, but no one really displays their figures like this. You're gonna display it like this, obviously. A very solid vehicle mode. Now for size comparisons, here it is next to the Studio Series B127, and I don't feel like transforming anything else, so we're gonna move on. Now the transformation on this figure from car mode to robot mode isn't that bad, but transforming it back into vehicle mode kinda sucks. It's difficult to get some of the pieces to tab in, especially these back parts, which I can no longer get to tab back in, and it's very frustrating. Now something that's really funny is that while the figure does come with it's upside down. While the figure does come with instructions in a fold out just like the original, the instructions just stop at number 26 and don't go on any further than that. If we flip it over, it's just instructions on the accessories. And this is just photocopied. As you can see, the quality on this is not the best. Now the first thing you want to do to transform this figure is to untab this part and take this gray door out. We then want to bring this piece up and then rotate it, bring all this up, push this back like so, and then flip this over. Now that already right there feels a bit over-engineered to me. I feel like that specific section could have been a bit more simplified. Not because I'm dumb and stupid, well actually, but regardless, we're gonna come over here, do the same thing on this side, and this is gonna be one of those videos, isn't it? We need to untap this, and it can be pretty stuck in there. Why is this so difficult? There we go. Totally didn't have to do it off camera. Also, goddamn. We're gonna take this back piece and bring it up there, and do the same on the other side. Fold up these car seats, push in these pieces, fold this down, pull this piece out, shift it this way, and then rotate that in. Same here. Now we can bring both of these pieces up here if it'll let me. Now bring the wheel and this section down, and it should be underneath this white piece. Let's open these up so that way we can bring out the legs for the figure, straighten out her feet. We can now take the arms and bring them down. Take this front section of the car mode and bring it down. Don't tab it into place just yet. If you do, society will collapse. Oh, maybe that's a good thing. These wheels need to be folded in. Let's bring this forward so we can grab this windshield piece, and this is a little bit awkward to do. Bring it down, rotate it, and then try to push it in through the other side. It now needs to rest up here. Now these pink parts can fold in. Keep this top section up here. This white piece needs to tab into the back of the figure. Not too awkward to do, unlike my social skills with girls. Now we can take this and then bring it down. Tab the chest in. We can now readjust these pieces, and it doesn't seem like they fully tab in like they should. This is the downside of knockoffs. Now this part feels a little bit unnecessary. We need to fold in this piece, and it's a bit tricky to do, but once we do get it in, we can now bring this down. And I guess that is meant to hide the Autobot insignia on the official figure, but it still seems a bit unnecessary to me. I gotta say, transforming it kind of just feels like a tedious task. It's not super fun. I definitely feel like they could have simplified some things in the original Masterpiece figure. And now that we are in the robot mode, what the hell is wrong with her chest? This is ugly. Let's get rid of that. And let me grab that new chest piece.
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
We can apply this chest piece on. It doesn't seem to fully tab in all the way, but you know, whatever. Now this looks so much better than what the original chest piece was. This one felt like it sat a little bit too low, making it look kind of awkward.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
And this new one is a lot more G1 accurate because the pink goes all the way up to the shoulders. The original figure does not come with this. This is only with the third-party figure. And she does come with the more human chest piece, which also only comes with this figure. I feel like only a weirdo would put this on their figure. I don't understand what kind of person would have figures like these. I find this figure to pair really well with my knockoff Masterpiece Hot Rod.
There he is! There's my favorite white boy!
Hey!
And my oversized knockoff masterpiece Optimus. Well, maybe that one's too big. Now right away, you might notice this figure has a really ugly backpack. The original masterpiece has this, and honestly, most RC figures have this as well. I'll compare it to the Legends RC figure later. This one is just immensely bulky and looks very terrible. This backpack also makes it hard for this figure to stand. She does have a stand attachment at the back, literally right on her ass. Was this intentional? Was this figure designed by Mecha Z or something? That guy's a weirdo. I know some people aren't a big fan of the original masterpiece figure, but I do kind of like this knockoff. The figure has a good size to it as well. She's really nice to hold and handle. I don't like the way I said that. And I'm pretty sure she does have some die-cast parts inside her, at least for some areas of the joints. Starting with the figure's head sculpt, it is a pretty decent head sculpt. She has her helmet with those very Princess Leia-like headpieces on the side. You can open this up and bring out a visor. She can now use that to scan how much of a degenerate you are, and me.
Holy fuck, his search history is just big sexy Optimus Prime pictures.
Not cool.
Some blue eyes with some black around them, just like the original. However, there does seem to be some paint spillage on my copy though, and she has some very kissable lips. Also, to me, it does seem like the face might be a little bit slimmer than the Masterpiece RC. Her neck has a purple color, and further down she has her collar, which isn't entirely G1 accurate. It is supposed to be a bit more square, but personally, I don't care. And once again, we have that new chest piece, which is so much better than the original. Going further along down, the original G1 RC design has a more boxy look in this area, while this is more curved. Once again, I personally do not care, but some people might prefer a more G1 accurate design. The rest of the legs are looking pretty good, with a little bit of panel working going on, not a whole lot. I did notice that this part is a different shade of white than the rest of the legs. Genuinely, I actually hate that. It's really off-putting, and once you notice it, you will not unnotice it. But as stated earlier, the rest of the legs are looking pretty good, and they're fairly basic. The arms are fairly simple and G1-like. Some basic accurate G1 details, and a pretty decent sculpt for the hands. I found these pieces to be a bit loose. They don't really stay in place very well. And here is how the rest of the figure looks from the back, and they really did curve this area out. Now, I do feel like this figure is in that weird area where it tries to be a little G1 accurate, but also it tries to be a little more sexy for some reason. Now, this figure comes with plenty of accessories. You get 4 different faces that all have mildly different varying expressions, and a very sus-looking one. You get this piece so she can peg Hot Rod with it. Well, actually, this goes on the vehicle mode. A fairly simple blaster that is entirely pink. A smaller pistol-like blaster. This one is really nice. It has some extra paintwork on there. For some reason, my figure can't hold it. 0 out of 10. You also get a holster for the pink blaster, so that can go in there. And her final weapon is this longer rifle. The 2 different colors of pink really do bring it out a bit more. It also reminds me of a Star Wars blaster. And you get 3 different effects pieces. So in terms of the figure's articulation, this can move up and down. You can spin this all the way around. A side-to-side head tilt. Arms can move out all the way up there. These are on a hinge joint. The new chest piece does limit this movement a bit. You can get a full 360 rotation. A pretty good elbow bend. Bicep rotation. Hand rotation. There is a hinge joint on the hands, 2 on the fingers, and 2 on this individual finger. The thumb only has this 1 joint. You get some side-to-side waist movement, an ab crunch, a full 360 waist rotation. Legs can move forward, and they are on ratchet joints, and they go up pretty high because of the transformation, but it doesn't really hold in place. Legs can only spread about right there, and we can spread it like that as well. You get a very good knee bend, rotation at the leg, inward foot pivot, and a toe that bends upwards. The articulation is fine. The only problem is you're going to need a stand for most poses. We can give a comparison to other RC figures that I own, mainly Legends RC because I sold my Kingdom RC. As you can see, they're both somewhat similar in the fact that they have that G1 aesthetic because they're G1 figures.
No shit.
Both still have those pretty big backpacks, and both are still mainly shell formers. There is a definite proportional difference between the 2 figures. Mainly, this one seems a lot thicker. This one doesn't have those ugly wheels sticking out at the back. And here's a quick look at the rest of the legs. This is still a pretty good figure, by the way. And here she is next to Rise of the Beast RC, definitely a lot tinier. And here's a side-by-side of the figure with the CDL-03 Cat, which is a clone of the Nicey figure. This one is definitely going for a more, very stylized design, while this one is going for a more stylized G1 design. The vehicle mode has that similar shape to it, but some very different designs. Overall, it isn't a bad figure. This is RC from Rise of the Beast. A quick look at the packaging. Mine did come kind of beat up like that. It's gonna go in the trash anyways. But a look at the top, you have a really nice render of RC in what appears to be that area from the trailer. This is part of the Studio Series line. It's a core class figure. A really nice close-up of RC, another image at the side, and pretty standard stuff on the back as well. Okay. At first glance, it didn't seem like she was packaged properly, but she is. It's supposed to be like that. It turns out, I'm just an idiot. Oh, no, I dropped it. Got it. All right, we can separate these. And according to the instructions, this goes back here, like that. Now, since this is a core class figure, it is kind of small. Personally, I'm not a fan of core class figures, but this isn't too bad. And I know they did that so it'd be more in scale with the other figures, but I do feel like this would have benefited from a deluxe class figure. I feel like it being core class limits this figure in many areas. But for what they were able to achieve, it's not too bad. One of my big concerns, though, is the paint. I feel like this kind of paint is definitely going to chip off. But let's take a closer look starting at the head. The head sculpt on this figure is really nice. I really also like the way the face looks. They were able to get a little bit of tiny detail in there. And the face does kind of resemble RC from the Bumblebee movie. The eyes are a nice blue and they managed to do that really well.
She also has the same lines that the Bumblebee movie RC has.
The entire face sculpt looks really good. And the mouth is also done really well. This top section of the head does resemble G1 RC a little bit. I don't like the gap in her head over there.
It's like she's gonna get brain damage and become a toy reviewer or something.
You can also see some tiny details right above and behind the shoulders in this section. Kind of hard to focus in on, but you can see a little bit of a grid pattern. The neck isn't entirely plain either. There is a little bit of sculpt work going on. It is really difficult to see though. Down over to the chest piece, it's painted really well with the black over there, the white and the gray. The way it's molded is really nice. It does seem fairly accurate to the movie. Over to the arms, you have that really pink paint and a pretty decent sculpt job. This section was done really well, I think. Down over to the rest of the arms, pretty basic. Not a whole lot of detail can be added to a figure this small and still maintain that price point. Some pretty decent work done for the hands. This torso area is done really well. It might be kind of hard to see on camera. It's a nice gunmetal gray with a really nice sculpt going on. And does she have a belly button? Oh my god, they did it. They actually did it.
The designers are horny.
Over down to the crotch area, not a whole lot going on. Some pretty decent sculpt work down here for the legs. The inside has some hollow points, but some really nice stuff going on here. I feel like that's done really well. I do feel like the figure falls kind of flat in this section. She doesn't really have feet, she just kind of has all this.
Yeah, the lower section of the legs is not the best. A lot of these details though do look nice in the vehicle mode.
Not too much going on the inside of things, and you can bring the wheels out. You kind of have her skate around like she does in the movie. It is kind of awkward, but it can be done, and it makes her a little bit taller, so she doesn't seem as short compared to the other figures in the line. Now in terms of accuracy, from what we've seen in the movie, she does seem to be pretty on par. A lot of the looks and colors do match. This part keeps going down. Mostly up in this area with the head, the chest piece, the arms, the rest of the body down to the legs. It is kind of hard to tell how accurate this part is because there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of images of it online.
With how horny Transformer fans are, maybe it's a good idea there's no feet pics of RC.
She does have a lot of kibble at the back, but the wheel here is movie accurate, not so much to this part. And it seems like in the movie this is... Nope, get back on there. Seems like in the movie this is supposed to be sticking out, but the instructions say to keep it sideways. Now for articulation, the head can do that as part of the transformation. I didn't mean to do that, but she can rotate her head all the way around. There is a bit of up and down movement. These arms can hinge out, and then these are on a ball joint, so you can... I'm getting flashbacks to that Legacy Prime RC figure. As I was saying, this is on a ball joint, so you can still bring the arm out without having it to hinge out. You can get that rotation going, and the joint is pretty tight. A ball joint at the elbows, so you can bend it in and then rotate it. No movement for the hands. This section can move. You do get a waist rotation. Legs can go out and forward. You get a knee bend. The legs can move pretty far back, and that's really about it. No feet rotation because she doesn't really seem to have feet. Now design-wise, this figure does seem to be similar to Legacy Prime RC. Here's a side-by-side look at both of them, and you definitely can kind of see some of the similarities between the two figures, especially where the wheels are positioned on the figures. It does seem like this RC might have been based off Prime RC. Let me know if you guys think they look similar in the comments also. Now here's a comparison of RC from the Bumblebee movie. You can see she looks very different. The main similarities are basically in the head. They both still have wheels at the bottom. This one has actual feet. Obviously this one also has more detail because it is a larger figure, and this one is definitely much thicker than this one. It is kind of confusing how they have this RC in a deluxe class and chose to do this in a core class. I guess since she is a motorcycle, it makes more sense. Maybe when she scans a motorcycle, she becomes smaller in the movie. I don't know. Let's take a quick look at her weapon. The mold of this is pretty simple, and you just place it on her hand. Not the best looking weapon in my opinion, and her hands are not compatible with the larger figure's weapons. Now for a size comparison.
Here she is next to Bumblebee RC, and yeah, the size difference is pretty baffling. Legacy Prime RC, Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, Studio Series KO Optimus, Battle Trap, Core Class Optimus, and just for fun so she doesn't seem too small, Armada Blur's Minicon Incinerator.
And while this figure doesn't officially come with a port for a stand, you could cheat the rules a little bit, take that off, and place this in like that. And I managed to do that for a few shots, and then maybe you could just place that in like that, maybe. Transformation for her is fairly simple. Bring the head out, and it was kind of stuck in there at first, but it is pretty loose now after getting it out. Bring the... What?
Bring the arms over and up and don't connect them just yet.
Rotate the body around. Bring out the legs like so on both sides. Bring the wheels out and bring them up. Make sure this is up and out, and she kind of looks like a spaceship like that. Now what we can do is bring these sides down. Make sure it lines up like so. Now we can connect the wheels.
Connect both of the arms together and kind of just like make sure everything gets in place. Tab this piece in there. Struggle with it for about 2 minutes before realizing the head wasn't down all the way. Question your validity as a Transformers reviewer, and finally connect those pieces. And just give everything a good push to make sure it's all together.
There we go. There is the vehicle mode for RC. I swear this is one of those times where when I first transformed the figure, it was really easy, but doing it on camera for some reason makes things a million times harder.
There's a sex joke in there somewhere.
But a look at the vehicle mode. This part right here can move. God damn it. This front half of the motorcycle doesn't look too bad. It really kind of falls off in this back area. You can see her head through there and the hand sticking out at the side. The wheels do rotate fairly easily. The rims do look really nice and they have some nice paint on them. You can see a lot of the bike details throughout the figure. A quick look at the front, not too bad looking. Other side, here's a quick look at the bottom, back.
I know it's a bit misaligned, I don't care. Weapon storage, the blaster goes at the bottom, and you can get her to stand with that. And if you push it in all the way, then she won't be able to stand, obviously. Honestly, it's an alright figure. The core class isn't my style, and I do hope they do a deluxe class in the future.
This is the Kingdom RC, which is the same as the Earthrise RC. Here's a look at the packaging. She looks dead inside. I do like the artwork of the vehicle mode up front. Here's a quick look at the side, the other side, and here's a quick look at the back. Now let's open her up. This is the most inconvenient way to have her backpack. Ah, fuck it. Also, the weapon really shouldn't be back here. I feel like that could be easily missed out on. You do get a neat foil card. I mean, I don't really care for these much, but it's there. So right away, the Kingdom or Earthrise RC is really bad. I had a significantly hard time getting it into the vehicle mode because of the legs. But the way the legs are designed, it's really difficult to get it folded into the proper positions. And if you mess around with it too much, they might pop out. It is also difficult to get these pieces to tap into place properly. So that's the best you're gonna get from me. I was able to do it on this side though. I spent a good 30 minutes on the legs probably. I could just be incompetent, who knows. The rest of the vehicle mode from the top doesn't look too bad. I do like it. Like I said, these pieces aren't tabbed in all the way properly, and once again, if I mess around with it too much, the legs are gonna pop out. But the rest of it does look very G1 accurate. It's got a nice profile on all sides. You have some nice inner car details at the front, some nice car seats. You have this fin at the top, which is removable, so be careful with that. All the detail on the front looks really good. You have a nice Autobot insignia. She does have a lot of nice panel lines on her, and some purple bluish translucent wheels. This one has weapon storage right underneath here. From the underneath, the figure does look pretty horrible. As you guys may already know, this figure is basically a shell former, and the figure just folds up into the car parts. This is the Transformers Legends RC. A quick look at the packaging. She comes in vehicle mode. I do like this stylized version of RC, and does she have a V-cut? Here's a look at the side of the box art, the other side, the top, and here's a quick look at the back. Here is the Legends figure in vehicle mode. Now in terms of a vehicle mode, this one is less G1 accurate, but I do like the stylization of it a lot better. It is a lot more curved, and it still has that kind of retro futuristic car look. This figure does have a lot less detail on it, especially on the front. She has some silver headlights, bold Autobot insignia on there. She has some gray wheels. The inside car details on this figure are a lot better. You have a translucent blue windshield and a much larger fin. This figure has a lot of areas for weapon storage. The smaller blaster goes right in there. This pink one goes at the back of the vehicle, and these two swords go on the side. However, they don't seem to stay in very well. You could also put them at the top, and I think that looks a little bit better. Maybe not so aerodynamic though. Underneath, this figure still folds up into itself, but she still does have an actual transformation. Also, this is her ass. Holding the two figures side by side, I do like the Legends figure a lot better. It is much glossier. This one seems kind of like a brick compared to this one. Even from a side perspective, this one is much better. Both of them still don't look the greatest from underneath. And here's a look at the front. Transforming this figure is fairly easy. First, bring out both of her legs, rotate them around, fix the feet. Next, we can move this back piece and fold it out like that. Pull it out a bit, bring this up so we can fold in these sections, rotate it around, and bring it in like that. Got to put this fin back on. We need to make sure these pieces fold in as well, and this came off again. Now we can bring down this front piece, move these arms out of the way so we can fold these pieces in. So this one and then that. Shift this down a bit, rotate the head around. Here's the robot mode, and I gotta say, what the fuck? Let's get the obvious out of the way. The backpack is horrendous. It's clunky. It is literally the entire vehicle mode just folded up. It also makes her very back heavy.
The rest of the robot mode does look good though, I will give it that. Pretty G1 accurate. Her face should be a little bit pink. Being white like that blends into the rest of the headpiece, which the headpiece does have some good detail on it. There's some very bright blue eyes, some more nice detail down over to the chest. Her boobs are all G1 and blocky. Some more great detail over here and further down in this area, and she does have a belly button. That is G1 accurate. The arms, I think, do look pretty basic. There's not much to them. Same with the hands. The legs are looking pretty alright. They do have some good detail. This little knee joint does kind of stick out like a sore thumb. Doesn't seem like it's that way in the show, also. This part of the legs is done really well. It's got some good panel working throughout it. There is some hollowness on the figure, which really sucks. These two are ports though. And then down to the feet. My god, these feet look horrendous. These look like bird feet. Also, this piece does kind of flop around. Let's see if we can get it into place properly. Hopefully that doesn't move around now. Okay, never mind. So far, I'm not very fond of this figure. If you could detach this back piece, you could have the entire car on its own. Now, for this RC figure, you can take this back piece off, and it essentially becomes a glider type accessory. Honestly, I don't know how I feel about that, but I think that is their way of making the backpack a lot less intrusive. I will say though, there is some nice detail on the underside over here, and with this off, the backpack does look a little bit better. I do think it's much better than the backpack on the Legends figure. It definitely does feel like cheating though. The blaster for the Kingdom figure doesn't look too bad. I'm not a big fan of the translucent look to it. It makes a lot of the details hard to see. Articulation, there's a full 360 on the head. Arms can move out. They can also rotate. There's a bicep rotation, a pretty decent elbow bend. Hands can move back and forth. Waist rotation. Legs can move out that far. You can bring them forward and back. Leg can rotate over there as well as over here. You get a really nice knee bend and some foot movement. The transformation on the Legends figure is also very simple, and the instructions do come with a fun little comic. And I'm gonna be right back. To transform this figure, first we bring up this back section, fold this piece in, turn the figure around so we can bring out both of the legs. This is especially important for wanting to bring the legs out. I'm sorry, that was a bad joke. Make sure the legs are down all the way just like that. Now we can bring out the arms, flip over this piece, and then bring it out like that. Make sure these shoulder pieces fit in there, so that way we can adjust that into place and bring that down. Connect this body piece and bring in the head, adjust the feet, and here is the robot mode for the Legends RC. Right away, it does seem like there's some discoloration on the arms, but from what I've seen online, it's supposed to be like that, I guess. I don't know. Fight about it with each other in the comments. The Legends figure comes with 4 accessories. You get a version of her blaster, which I think looks much better than this one. This one has a lot more detail on it. You get a pink blaster, which looks fairly basic, and 2 translucent blue swords, which look really cool, I think. I do prefer the head on this figure. She does have a huge area at the back for light piping, and the light piping on this figure is really good. She looks kind of dead right now, similar to how I look in most of my videos. But unlike me, if you bring her up to some light, she doesn't look dead anymore. The rest of the head sculpt does look pretty good, and she appears to have lipstick on for some reason. I do like how her face is kind of pink. That is how she's supposed to look. She does have a lot less detail on her than the Kingdom figure. She has her Autobot insignia on the chest, which is also very blocky. I do feel like the blocky chest piece doesn't work with the rest of the figure having very curved and more feminine features. Here's a quick look at the figure's arms. Not much to them. She does have these gaping holes over there. This is for weapon storage, but I still think it looks kind of ugly. The hands also don't look the best, and the paint job is kind of sloppy on them. Her stomach is very human-like. Further down the legs, the designs are pretty basic. On the back though, you do have some Trypophobia style hollow legs. Her backpack does fold in pretty decently. This part of the figure is really curved and has an arched back, and she is kind of thick. In terms of articulation for this figure, the head can spin all the way around. The head is a lot looser on this figure than the other one. She can look up and down. Arms can move out like there. You get a rotation. There is bicep rotation, a good elbow bend, no hand rotation unfortunately, no waist rotation either. Legs can move forward. They can move back about there. You get a rotation down there, a pretty good knee bend, and some foot movement. This figure is just a repaint of the Thrilling 30s figure. This one is a lot more accurate to RC, but I do like the way that one looks. Now for a comparison of the two figures. This one does seem to have a bit more articulation to it, and a lot more detail. I will say the feet on the Legends figure look so much better than this one. Is this RC figure actually any good? And is it better than the Studio Series figure? It is kind of disappointing that they didn't make a deluxe class RC figure yet for Rise of the Beast, and this kind of does the job of that.
Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy? Sorry. Mommy?
The box art is honestly fairly simple, not a whole lot to go over, so let's get straight into the figure. Now this honestly doesn't look too bad to me. I do think this is a pretty decent looking bike mode, especially for the type of figure this is.
Mommy?
The arms and hands sticking out at the back do look kind of atrocious, and they don't seem to tap together very well, but the rest of it does look pretty good. Detail wise, there's not a whole lot on this figure. You have some stuff that vaguely resembles what could be motorcycle detail. A little bit back over here. The wheels are very glossy, and that does look kind of ugly, and then these front ones have some holes in them, and the wheels do not spin very well at all. So that is another particular downside for this figure. figure. The paint and colors on this are just fine. Not much else to say about the vehicle mode, but we can compare it to the Studio Series version. And with the size comparison, the Beast Alliance figure is definitely much larger than the Studio Series one. The fronts do look quite similar. You can see completely different paint applications though. The side and the top also look very different. I do think in terms of vehicle mode, the Studio Series one is slightly better. It is also cheaper, coming at around maybe like $10 or $11. This one is around $15, but it does come with Cheetor. But honestly, in my opinion, it's pretty passable. Not the worst looking thing, but also not the best.
I mainly got her for the robot mode.
Now, before we get to transforming this, let's take a look at Cheetor. This isn't too bad looking for what it is. You do have some nice detail over here and some more stuff on the back of the legs as well as the front. It does look pretty decent. And here's a closer look at his head. Some more nice detail underneath the figure. Now, articulation wise, these are all on ball joints, so they can pop out, so they can move out, and you can give them a rotation. The feet are also on a ball joint, so they can move around. Back legs are also on a ball joint, so you can bring them out about over there. Yeah, before it ends up popping out.
You can bring them forward and back all the way around.
No head movement or anything though. Now the transformation on this figure is fairly simple. First, let's go ahead and disconnect those arms. Then we'll come down here to where these legs are. Bring them out just like so. Same with this one. We're gonna pull that out and just bring it out. We'll come to the wheels and then separate them and bring them out. We can bring the head forward, bring this section back over there. And we will see there is a lot of hollowness going on, which is kind of unfortunate. It is mostly covered when you bring this up. We can bring these arms down and then rotate them like so. Same with this one, and be careful because these do pop out really easily. Now we can bring the legs around and down like so. Come over here and do the exact same thing. And here's RC in her robot mode, and it doesn't look too bad. The proportions of the figure seem alright. If we do take a closer look at the head sculpt, it's fairly decent. The helmet section does look alright. The face is very pink with some blue eyes. Not a whole lot of detail throughout this figure. The chest piece is the front of the motorcycle like the other figures,
But very unlike some other RC figures.
arms are a pretty simple sculpt. You do have some silver paint applications here. The body does slim down. You get a little bit of detail and some motorcycle detail along with her standard belly button. Crotch piece fairly basic. Not too much to say about the legs here. I don't like how the feet are done. I feel like they look kind of backwards. It seems a little bit awkward.
Turning the figure over to the back, she does have a pretty big backpack, which does look kind of weird in my opinion, and I'll compare this to the Studio Series version in a second.
Coming to the back of the head, she does have some hollow bits, which look really ugly. And as I said earlier, there's more in here, which does get covered up, so that's not a big deal. But once again, this backpack is pretty atrocious. Coming down to the legs, from the back, I mean, not a whole lot to say. Doesn't look the best or the worst, but in general, from the front... How did I do that? But honestly, in general, from the front, the figure doesn't look too bad in my opinion, and it's much larger than the Studio Series figure.
Here are the two figures side by side, and here's a figure with some other Rise of the Beast figures.
I know the Studio Series one is supposed to be more accurate in terms of scale with the rest of the figures, but I do prefer having a larger RC figure. I'll do a comparison with these two in a sec, but first let's take a look at Cheetor. He does not transform or anything. He's simply just a weapon. First we need to bring this up, like so, and then rotate this around. Bring those legs up and around, same with this one, and then bring these ones up. Same on this side. And then now we essentially have what is Cheetor's weapon or sword mode. This attaches into either one of these pegs, so we can plug that in there. Plug that in there.
It is kind of a bulky weapon. It's a gimmicky feature I don't really care for. I just care about the RC figure.
This arm does keep falling off.
'Tis but a scratch.
Taking a look at both of these figures' head sculpts, I do think the Studio Series is a lot more nicely defined. The Studio Series figure also has a bit more accurate paint colors with the white, while this one, instead of white, there's a lot of gray on it. The chest pieces do look the same on both of these figures. The arms are a lot slimmer on the Beast Alliance figure. The stomach area on this is also a lot slimmer in my opinion. This section on the side of the Studio Series one really bulks it out. And then here's a closer look at the legs. Now both of these figures have the issue of having a lot of stuff going on at the back. Over here it's kind of spread out throughout the figure, while over here it's all up in this back section. This figure also has blue paint on the chest piece, while this one does not. The Studio Series figure also has more detail.
I do want to compare this figure to the Legacy Prime RC figure because I need to make the video just a little bit longer.
Definitely a very different look for these figures, but I do feel like there are some minor similarities between the two. I have always thought that this figure could make a good custom Rise of the Beast RC figure if we had a different head sculpt. However, the head for this figure is on a ball joint, while the head for this figure is on a hinge joint. So that is something to... You know what she looks like right now? So someone probably more savvy than me could figure out a way to get this head sculpt to work with this to make a nice little custom. Now for the figure's articulation, the head can spin a full 360. These arms can move out. Since they're on a ball joint, they can spin a full 360.
Hand rotation,
no waist rotation. Legs can move forward out there. They can move back there. You do get a knee bend, and then this can bend as well. And that's about it.
it's not that bad of a figure, and with giving it a custom paint job,
You could get a really good looking RC figure, and it's up to you on which figure you like the most. So leave a comment below.
this is a Transformers Legacy Prime RC.
Inside the packaging, there's RC.
But the real question is, are you seeing anybody? Because I'm single.
Here goes.
Can't do it. Thanks for the help.
On the front of the box art, you have RC in her vehicle mode, once again from the Transformers Legacy line and a deluxe class figure. Side of the box art looks the same as the others. On this side, you have box art of RC. On the back, you have her in her robot mode and vehicle mode, and only 20 steps. Please come out. Wow, that really made a mess. Here is a figure, and first off, we need to attach this back on, and this goes here. She comes with an Energon shield, which can split apart to form 2 Energon blades, and this wheel at the back is also an accessory. Open it up to reveal a very poor excuse of an Energon blaster. We'll get back to these later. Now at first glance, this figure does seem similar to the original Deluxe Prime RC figure that came out, but it's not. It's very different. The entire sculpt is different, the head sculpt looks very different, and the wheels on this one are on the side, while in the original design they were on the back of the legs. By the way, there is a third-party copy of the original Transformers Prime RC, so subscribe if you want to see that. In fact, just subscribe in general. The head sculpt on this does seem a bit more G1, which is the aesthetic they were going for the Legacy line of figures. It looks like my copy already does have some paint chipping going on. Now, even though this figure does have a much different head sculpt, this one still looks good. The faceplate on it is really nice. These pinkish purple colors, whatever they are, look really nice as well. And the light piping on this figure is absolutely amazing. Like, give me a second, look at this, look at this. That is an insane amount of light piping. And that is because the entire back of the head is a translucent blue, and it blends in with the rest of the head really well. This is a much older figure, but for example, there's a lot of Transformers figures with light piping where the entire back of the head is just a completely different color, and it kind of ruins the color scheme of the head. I mean, you couldn't really give this gray light piping because that would look bad, so I'm not sure what point I'm trying to make here. Now a closer look at the neck and collarbone. It's a nice silver gray. There's a painted on Autobot logo, which looks very bold, if that makes sense. You have some vents on the sides of her upper body here, and then it slims down to the waist, which is a nice silver with a very mechanical look to it. There's a little bit of detail on the arms, not too much. There's a bit of panel work on the side of the arms that really show off more in the vehicle mode. There's a little bit more of that pinkish purple color here. Other than that, the arms don't have too much detail on them. The thigh area looks relatively simple, and then down onto the rest of her feet, you have a nice silver on her kneecaps with a bit of molded detail. There's some detail on the front of the legs here too, some more of that paint there. And down onto her feet, they look awful. What the fuck? These feet look pretty horrendous in my opinion, especially with this sticking out. I know it's for support when standing, but it looks really ugly. And having these wheels on the side really ruins the silhouette of the figure. I mean, they are detachable, so you can remove it, and it does make the silhouette look better, but then like, what are you gonna do with this? If you can think of something creative, then let me know in the comments. Now, some other issues I have with this figure is that this arm right here is pretty loose and pops off very easily. And if you turn her around, she does have a very ugly backpack. That consists of the front section of the vehicle mode, and it also had issues of this popping off very easily, but it seems to be stuck in place now, embarrassing me on camera. Moving on to some more detail areas I missed on the figure. Over here you can see a little bit of motorcycle detail. The inside of these legs consists of being motorcycle pipes, and while her backpack is ugly, these side panels of the motorcycle do have quite a bit of detail inside them. Now the articulation on this figure is pretty good. If you can see, the head is on a ball joint, so she can look up and down. She's got a bit of a tilt going. She can spin her head all the way around. These arms can come out to the side, and you get a full 360 rotation on the arms. They can also move down. There is bicep rotation, an elbow bend that only goes 90 degrees. This can shift down and up for the transformation. The hands do have rotation. They can spin all the way around, but this kind of gets in the way, but you are able to do it. There's kind of an ab crunch, but not really. She can bend her back all the way like that. This crotch piece can move up and down. The waist can spin all the way around. The rest of her body fell off. Not an uncommon thing to happen to people. The legs can come out to the side. They can come forward, and you can rotate them back pretty far. You can rotate the legs out to the side a little bit, and you get pretty much a 90-degree knee bend. The feet can pivot, but they cannot move up or down. You can move them in like this, but that's for the transformation. Now let's move on back to the accessories. Here's a closer look at the Energon shield that also turns into blades. It's a translucent blue, and it kind of has this ninja vibe going on with it, and you can attach it onto her arms, and these ports are also 5mm ports, so when making my videos, I always think to myself, what is the dumbest thing I can do in this moment? And that's a life philosophy too. Socrates said, in the moment that is current is a good moment for stupidity. Now we can split them and place them on each side of the arms, and it looks dumb. Very, very dumb. I don't like them. These are supposed to be Energon blade versions of what the original Transformers Prime RC had. She can also hold them if you wanted to. Now for the other accessory she has, which I also think is really dumb, is the front wheel, which I showed earlier. You can split it open, and what you get is what's supposed to be a Energon blaster. Blaster? I hardly know it. It looks like a drone, and this part right here kind of looks like a groin cup. Yeah, good job on that one, Hasbro.
I do like the metallic-y blue paint on the inside though. It looks very nice. But still, like, what the fuck? Well, what is this supposed to be? Like, she can hold it in her hand, and it's a little hard to get things in there sometimes. And the instructions don't even show this right.
In the instructions, you can clearly see that the groin cup is supposed to be down more,
But this isn't able to move down. This really is the dumbest excuse for a weapon I have ever seen.
It can also be placed at the back if you move this part down, and then you can plug it into this peg right here. So if you prefer to have some kind of wheel wings, you can do that. Anyways, back to more Also, speaking of more useless things,
Remember when I was talking about her back here and how this can actually separate? It doesn't do anything.
this doesn't turn into an accessory or anything like that. Unless anyone else knows why, I personally think it's absolutely useless for this to be able to detach.
Anyways, enough complaining about plastic toys, let's move on. Now for the 5mm ports on this figure, you have them on the arms as shown earlier. You have ports on the inside panels of the motorcycle. There's those on the feet as well.
There's the ones on the Energon accessories, and then these here are 5mm ports as well.
There's that one at the back underneath the neck, and then this is also a 5mm port for where this is supposed to go.
So with all these ports, you can do this. Anyways, here she is with Studio Series Hot Rod, and as a deluxe class figure, you can see she's smaller. Same with Voyager Starscream from the Legacy line, as well as the Legacy Prime Bulkhead. She seems to be slightly taller than Legacy Alita 1, and taller than Bumblebee Movie RC. Now, some people seem to be getting annoyed that I keep using the Alien Attack Girl in videos, so I'm gonna put a rest to that. Here she is next to the Alien Attack Girl.
Now onto the transformation. By the way, this is my third time trying to transform this on camera. It's a very simple transformation, but for some reason, every time I film it, nothing goes right, and this arm is just insanely loose. So if you see me a bit frustrated during the transformation, I am sorry. So the first thing we need to do is bring the head around. The instructions don't say that, but it helps later on. Now we need to pull this out and then rotate it right here and then bring it forward like that. Now these pieces on the arms need to shift down. Now we rotate the waist and then bring it up so that way we can bring down the arms over here and then that keeps happening.
This has happened so many times.
But we just need to align it up and have them together. Now we can open these parts of the legs up and then spread the legs. I know what you're thinking, stop. We need to open this and then bring it down like that. So now rotate the legs and bring them in here, align it up like that. You want to do the same with this leg. Have it like this, bend it,
Make sure this is out.
and then just align it like so.
Close the feet. It's probably best to do that earlier in the transformation.
And then bring these together, which is insanely difficult to do on camera. It's like microsurgery.
Push it in forward a little bit to get it to line up perfectly.
Now you just want to tab these side pieces into these two notches right here. So this top one goes there and the bottom one goes in here.
So go ahead and bring that in and compress it all together.
And then same with the other side. And there is the vehicle mode. So the transformation on this is very simple, but for some reason I just had a very hard time transforming it on camera.
What does that say about my mental state? I don't know.
Anyways, the vehicle mode does look pretty good.
Now, I'm not sure if this was intentional, but these side pieces right here do kind of look like metal, even though they're made of plastic. This figure does have some nice motorcycle detail on it. You have a nice pattern on the rims of the wheels. There's a little bit of detail on the swing arm and the final drive. I definitely didn't just Google a diagram for motorcycle parts online. The front brakes are a nice silver with a neat design to them. The front suspension also has some detail. You have the exhaust pipe,
Some vents. It even has a little gas tank. I like the side mirrors it has, and they're not flimsy. For some reason you'd expect them to be flimsy, but they're pretty solid. Same with the handles and the brakes, they feel pretty solid. There's even some odometer details in there. Look at the front, there's some orange paint for the light on both sides. There's even a little kickstand that can move. This wheel can roll pretty well. This one's a little tight on mine. Here's a look at the underneath. The main headlights look pretty nice. If someone could give this some custom LEDs, I think that would look really nice. The motorcycle alt mode on this looks really good. This is the Studio Series RC from the Bumblebee movie.
The figure has a nice retro aesthetic, giving a callback to the original RC, while still having a nice modernized look that fits the Bumblebee movie.
First, let's take a look at the packaging. Here you have some nice artwork of RC. Here's a look at the side, the other side, and here's a look at the back. Now she here turns into a motorcycle.
There's also words on the back, like
Big screen inspired. Cybertron Falls. I'm assuming that's like Niagara Falls. 23 steps. Backdrop included. RC loses contact with the capital as the Autobots are overwhelmed by Decepticon forces.
yeah, that's great and all, but we still need to open the figure. So let's open it up.
Now let us free her from her bondage. I mean, packaging.
Here is the figure, here are the instructions, here's the backdrop it comes with. It looks nice and actiony with some Transformers on it. And I think that might be Bumblebee in his Cybertronian mode. And here are the 2 accessories it comes with. Now the first thing we want to do is just bring these in right there. And another thing you want to do is bring these parts on the legs out on both sides. So that way she can actually stand. Because if you don't do it, she falls over and everyone on the planet dies. Is that what you want on your conscience? If not, then make sure to do it. You wouldn't want all these animals to die, would you? Like, look at that. Look at how cool that is. Look at this bird. And look at this. And look at what this is. I don't even know what this is. And it looks cool. If you don't want these animals to die, then you should subscribe to my channel. And maybe my Patreon too. A big pet peeve of mine is that I feel like the figures should already come out of the box like this, but I do understand that sometimes it's just better for the packaging. Now the right foot on my figure is very loose, so I'm giving this figure a 0 out of 10. Hasbro, fix your quality control issues. Now the design and aesthetic of this figure is really nice. I really do like this particular mold of RC. It has a nice look with a feminine design to it, just like your mom. All the colors and paint on here look great. She has a nice pink Autobot logo. There's some nice mechanical detail on the legs there, because it is a robot. The inside of her legs also have a good amount of detail. That gunmetal gray looks great on it. Since it's a deluxe class figure, it feels pretty small, but it is pretty nice. You know, maybe I could put that on my Tinder profile. Here's a closer look at the head. You got that upside down triangle at the top. I'm not the biggest fan of her face. I feel like it looks kind of weird, and her eyes look very lifeless. If you zoom in on her eyes though, they do have mechanical detail. I do really like the mechanical designs on the neck. She does have some nice detail on the top of her head, and some small bits of detail back there. She's got pink around where the ears would be, and she also has an antenna. There's some more detail on her arm there. Here's a look at the back of the figure. She does have a backpack, but it does look very clean. Here she is next to Studio Series Bumblebee, Studio Series Sideswipe, Studio Series Starscream, but this one is Voyager class, so there's gonna be a size difference. Here she is with Studio Series Hot Rod, the optional Attack Girl. I'm not sure what this Transformer is. Now the articulation on this figure is pretty good. These right here are on a ball joint. Her head is also on a ball joint, so she can spin her head all the way around. She can look up and down, some side to side tilting. Her arms are on a ball joint, so they have a good range of movement, but these pieces do get in the way. But if you move them out, she can move her arm all the way back that much. And this is how high her arms can move. They can come out, rotate all the way there. The biceps also have rotation. The elbows can bend. The arms can move in and out. The waist can spin all the way around. Her legs are on a ball joint, so they got a good range of movement. They can move back all the way there, out into the side, and then forward all the way there. She's got a knee bend. Unfortunately, no thigh rotation. The feet can move back and forth, and they can move inwards. Here are both of her weapons. There's nothing too special about them, but they do have some detail on them. Just simply place them in her hands, and she looks pretty great with her weapons in hand. And she's able to hold them pretty well. Along with that, you can take them out, and this right here is for weapon storage. So you just peg it in there, and then the other one in here, and there you go. And there's 2 slots, so you can put them in any way you want or on either side. Now let's move on to the transformation. First, it's good to make sure you take out her weapons, then bring in both her feet like this, then push it out like that, then turn this around and bring it in here. Do the same for the other side, then go ahead and snap those wheels together, split the back and chest area, bring her head back there for now, and then bring these out. Now pull all of this out, then you want to get her head in there like that and close that. Spin her waist around. Now you just want to peg these pieces into place like this, and now tab the chest area in here, just like so. Now bring both her hands in like this. Now make sure the arms are in this position. Now bring these in around, same with the other side as well, and now just tab it into place like here on both sides. Now here is the vehicle mode, and I do find it to be a little bit lacking. The front and side areas look pretty good, however I don't really like the back. I really don't like how the hands are just super visible and go in like that. It is very distracting, but since it is technically a Cybertronian mode, you could argue that it doesn't really matter. But you know what? That's a cop-out answer. I think it looks very awkward like this. Now you are supposed to put her weapons in hand like this, and that covers up the hands more, making it look a bit better. Another thing I don't like about the figure is the faux wheels right here. Instead you have actual tiny wheels next to them, and the front wheels right over here, only these parts actually move. And the figure doesn't really roll around too well. But those are really my only major complaints about this figure's vehicle mode. I do like all the details in the Cybertronian mode, and it does look very Cybertronian, so you can get away with it not looking like an actual Earth bike. I like the blue tinted window right here. The color scheme on here looks nice. Once again, there is a bit of an homage to the original G1 vehicle mode. Here's a look at the underside, not too bad there. You got that nice gray over there, and the Autobot logo shows on the backside as well. And overall, not too bad of a vehicle mode.
This is the APC Toys Transformers
Prime RC, and why is there a pink version of her? I got these at TF Safari, make sure to check them out and use this code. These versions of RC put her legacy release to absolute shame. While that wasn't a bad figure, it was still pretty subpar for what it was. It looked alright, but was G1ified, which it seemed like Hasbro kind of slowed down on that until they did it again with Animated Optimus. It also had a few loose parts to it, which led to some frustration, and then instead of her regular blades, she got these weird Energon blades, and then her front wheel was utilized as whatever the hell this is supposed to be. These RC figures are amazing and are pretty much direct copies of the original. As of now, APC Toys has released 3 versions of this RC. The original, which was a brighter blue color, but had some flaws to it. From what I read online, the joints were bad and the paint was falling off. The second release was the pink version, and from what I read online, it was an improvement, but in my experience, at least for the pink version, both of the arms pop out pretty easily. And I did notice a little bit of paint flaking. And now we have this third release known as the comic version, and it also has more accurate colors. The blue on this figure is incredibly nice. The Momo version is actually just like her original release, which opts for a more G1 color scheme, with pink and white being her primary colors, along with some translucent blue parts. The blue version still has some pink accents to it in certain areas. Honestly, I always preferred RC being pink because that's how she usually is, but having these two side by side, I definitely think the blue version is superior. Seeing a pink Transformers Prime RC just looks kind of weird, but I think some people might like it. Just be wary and know that mine is already yellowing. Here they are next to the Rose Toys RC, APC Optimus Prime, Megatron, and Wheeljack, who is getting his own review soon. The head sculpt on this figure is very great and very animation accurate, much better than the G1ified Legacy release, which that does look fine, at least in the context of what the figure is, but this is just so much better. The head is a lot more dynamic and angular, with some slight bits of pink on her as you can see. The eyes are also a lot more animation accurate. Now, interestingly enough, the pink version comes with a completely different head sculpt. I think this is supposed to be more reminiscent of the official release, and this head sculpt was also in APC Toys' first release. In this version, she has more of a smirk on her, while with the new one, she does have a more neutral face. And since this is all pink, there isn't a whole lot of color separation. There is some metallic pink on the side here, and she does have light piping for the eyes. Now, what is interesting is that the comic version of RC came with a pink version of the new head sculpt. I did not expect this to be in here when I unboxed the figure. And as you can see, these are pretty much the same exact head sculpt, just different colors. So if you wanted this head sculpt for this figure, you would have to buy the comic version, which is kind of weird. Now further down, we do get some inaccuracies from the show, as the original designers did have to make this turn into a motorcycle. But the core of her original design is still there and is much better than the Legacy release. Her collarbone area is where you could add an Autobot insignia of your own if you do have a sticker. We got some nice silver underneath here. Her chest area is the front of the bike mode, which is very nice, and in the shows, it is definitely a lot more flat. Don't ever say that to a woman, by the way. These don't tab into anything, so it's very easy to misalign them. Further down, this black section is a lot bigger than in the show, but it seems to be necessary for the alt mode to look good. On her arms, we get these huge bits of essentially kibble. I personally don't like the way it looks. I think it's too bulky, but for the most part, they're still pretty cohesive to the rest of the design of the figure. And I guess they should be positioned out a bit more like this. I don't really care. Further down the arms, we do have these peg holes back here, which are meant for her accessories, and they are 5mm ports. And then we have some pink accents for the wrist, and I do think her hands are done pretty well, much better than Arachnid. The waist area also looks different from the show. This version doesn't have those spikes. Now the bottom parts of her legs are designed so well. I like the way it looks, and I find it to be on par with what we saw in the show. We have some silver and pink paint applications and a little bit of motorcycle detail on the inside of the legs. The rear motorcycle wheel is split in two and neatly tucked away in the back of her legs. The Legacy release had them on the side, and I felt like that looked pretty ugly. But this is also far from perfect. The wheels keep popping out, and the feet are just so weirdly designed, so it's hard to get the figure to stand sometimes. This bitch needs life alert.
I've fallen, and I can't get up!
And even harder to do dynamic poses. This is more so an issue of the original design. On the back, she does have the front of her vehicle mode tucked away up here, and down here we kind of have this area that kind of looks like a tail now. I guess she's a furry. A quick look at the Momo version. We'll see she does have some metallic pink paint in some areas like over here and down on the legs. This abdomen area is a lighter gray color, and as you can see, all the black has basically been swapped out for white. I do wish these parts of the arms had more pink on them, like how in the other version they are blue. Seeing more pink on here would definitely help, because I feel like being mostly white makes it look kind of bland.
That's racist.
Articulation is alright for 2011. We do have some neck movement. Her head can rotate. She cannot look up with her head though. Arms can go out to the side. We do get a full 360 rotation. Arm is on a ball joint, bicep rotation. We get a really good elbow bend. This hand can come in, some waist rotation. This leg popped out. Leg can move forward up there, out to the side, back all the way there. We do get a knee bend, which is very good, and this foot can move. I wasn't able to get a whole lot of super
super great poses with this figure, unlike the Arachnid figure, which we'll get to soon. As stated earlier, the feet really hinder it, the legs are also a bit loose, and goddamn, these arm things really do get in the way.
Now accessories wise for the RCs, we do get 2 of her blades. The design and sculpt on this is done pretty well, I think. I really do like the silver metallic paint on here, and the pink ones are pretty much the same. These basically attach to the back over here, and I do like the way these look. However, you might think to yourself they do look a little bit big, but there is a solution to that, because APC Toys does give you Oops. Because APC Toys does give you some smaller blades. And this isn't just a shrunken down version of the larger one, this is a completely different sculpt. The design on this is basically entirely different. This one has a circular 5mm peg, while this one just kind of has a rectangle,
And it goes in on this side of the arm.
and I genuinely do think she looks pretty good with these smaller blades. And also, if you wanted to, you could attach these to your Legacy RC. I do think it looks a little bit weird, and the connection isn't the best since these are hexagonal ports.
Each variant of the figure does come with 2 blasters, so much better than whatever the hell this is on the Legacy release. The design is pretty basic, but it doesn't have to be something overly complicated. I like the way it looks. Pink version is basically the same, just a different color. Putting it on is super weird. It involves taking this out, we don't need that anymore, and sliding this part onto the hand. Looks cool, but it doesn't stay on super well. Now for a quick comparison with the Legacy release.
Side by side, I genuinely think this APC Toys version of RC is so much better than the Legacy release. While I don't actually hate the Legacy release, I did do a video on it talking about what I liked and disliked.
Holding this RC in my hand really shows how much better it is than the Legacy release.
And it really blows this one out of the water. This is also from a time period where deluxe class figures were just much bigger. Comparing the 2 head sculpts side by side, I really do like this version a lot.
Now I do actually think that the Legacy RC has a more accurate chest area.
I don't really like this bit making the figure look more bulky, but on this figure the bulkiness is down here. For the backside, I do find this to be a lot cleaner than this.
The legs on the APC Toys release do look much better even though it can't stand properly. The wheels on the side of the Legacy release look ugly. To transform RC, the first thing we want to do is come to her arms and rotate them 180 degrees, and they basically fold into this. Do the same for this arm. For some reason that always feels weird to do, and I'm afraid of putting stress on the arms when I do that. We can come down to the legs and pull this section out where the wheel is, and make sure you do untab it from here first, and then you can grab it and bring it out.
Bring in the feet, same over here, bring it back in there.
Now we can grab these half wheels and bring them around to the bottom of the feet. Do the same over here.
Now we can connect the wheel.
It can be a bit tricky to do, and they attach at the center.
Now we can kind of have a Revenge of the Fallen style RC like this, if you want to remember that movie exists for some reason.
Grab her chest pieces and bring them up, bring them all the way up, and grab the back of the figure and pull it back. Take this front windshield, bring it up, grab those handlebars and bring them out. Flip this piece out.
Rotate this around. Rotate the wheel around to where this pink side is facing the front. Rotate the lower body.
Take the legs and they basically fold in to form the bottom part of the motorcycle. Bring the chest pieces to the front of the motorcycle. The head of the figure needs to tuck inside the motorcycle mode. It'll take a bit of adjusting to get it right. Take this piece and bring it out. Readjust all this. Now we can connect these pieces at the front together. So now comes the awkward part. It's hard to see but the arms connect there, and this connects there. It is kind of tricky to do, but just try your best because your best is good enough. Also, I don't want to spend like 30 minutes on this. Here are the vehicle modes for both of these RCs, and for 2011, I still think it holds up to this day. I think I did manage to get the arm pieces to tab in luckily, and it is a pretty good looking bike mode. My only major thing is that this figure wasn't really that fun to transform. Even though a lot of these steps are simple, it's a bit too finicky, which is kind of what makes this a little bit annoying. We can also attach the blades to the bike mode. The smaller ones will not attach.
Honestly, there isn't a whole lot of detail on this to go over, but I still do think it looks nice. We have the translucent black windshield, a little bit of tire detail. I do think some of the detail on the rims is done nicely. There is a little bit of pink showing through. I do also think it just looks way too bulky. The Legacy version is a lot slimmer, and I do like that, but I do think this bike mode looks a lot cooler than the Legacy release. The Legacy version also feels like it's based off an older type of motorcycle. This one seems a lot more sleeker and a bit new, but once again, because of these side bits, it's just so much bulkier, and having the weapons attached onto it just makes it feel even bulkier.
We do have some robot mode kibble with these knee bits sticking out and these hands over here, which they are tucked away but are still noticeable.
Some of the other motorcycle detail on here is nice. We have 2 exhaust pipes back here, and we do have some motorcycle detail up here at the front. I do like the molded design for the fuel tank.
I feel like taking the blades off the bike does make it look a bit slimmer. We also do get extra pink that way, and that makes it look a bit more cohesive because of this pink area at the front. It doesn't seem like a random spot of pink now.
And taking them off does reveal a bit more detail on the motorcycle mode. We also do have this kickstand, so the bike can stand on its own. Here's a look at the pink version, and I feel like since it is a brighter color, the bulk stands out a lot more on this figure. I do like the translucent blue windows here, and the translucent blue up front. Once again, that metallic pink is also nice. Honestly, it's really personal preference as to whether you prefer the pink version or the blue version. I personally think the blue helps makes this figure seem a lot more sleeker, but this isn't bad. It's just the loose arms can kind of make this a little bit difficult to transform because they might keep popping off. Here's a look at the top. As you can see, this one has black for the seat area while this has gray. This one has painted mirrors while this one is just black.
Wow, that was a lot of RC figures. Thanks for watching. Now how about you check out this video over here?